Hello there, we've not met yet. I'm Greg Gomez, here to present a special Igniting Change podcast. We're breaking the mold a little bit with a remix episode featuring some of our fellow Cubies. In these episodes, our incredibly talented team will dive into the latest in tech topics and industry news, from groundbreaking innovations in AI to the newest trends in app development and digital transformation. We're here to cut through the cyber noise, serve up a hot take, and keep you entertained along the way. Whether you're a tech enthusiast or just curious about what's shaping the future, these episodes are packed with insights that you won't want to miss. So sit back, stay curious, and let's ignite change together.
All right, welcome along to the Igniting Change podcast. You have me today, Duncan, founder of Three-Sided Cube. So Three-Sided Cube, if you don't know us, we are why don't you know us? Firstly, that's outrageous. But secondly, we are a digital product agency that focus purely in the tech for good space. And what does tech for good space means? It means where you're either helping the environment or helping humanity. And why do we get into that space? Because it is just way cooler. It's way more fun to be in when you are building digital products. The impact you can have is huge. And we're lucky to work with some incredible clients that have huge reach, such as the United Nations, the Red Cross, and a whole range of smaller charities as well as bigger charities. But it is a fun space to be in. If it's a space you want to get involved with, definitely come along and speak to us. With us today, we have Matt, head of marketing at Three-Sided Cube. Matt's been with us for a year now and has had a illustrious career in marketing, and he's peaking now because he's with us. But he's been a bit of a revelation for us in the last year. And just slowly, bit by bit, our marketing is evolving into a really an area that we're really enjoying. But when Matt, you joined us, we started the journey with us exploring a bit more internally around AI. So it's quite a good opportunity to bring you in to this chat.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, timing wise, it was ideal. When I joined last November, we were just kind of, as at Three-Sided Cube, starting that journey internally, like into AI and how, as a team, we could use it. And since then, we've done, lots of trials internally and surveys and things, as well as then looking outside of the business at how the industry are doing too.
Yeah, nice. And that's what we're going to kind of get into
today,
right?
Yes, absolutely.
Which is great. Okay. All right. So maybe it's worth us talking about why we've started. So we've done some internal surveys and then we've done some external surveys. So part of the reason we kicked off with some internal surveys is to really understand the lay of the land just for our own team. Now, our team's 60 odd people, not particularly a big organization. If you think of some of the NGOs out there, they're thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of individuals. So actually understanding your organization and their appetite is really interesting. And I think three of the key areas that came out. Now, for AI, we want to take advantage of it, right? Whatever that might be, or we just want to get involved and understand it a lot better, not just for our clients, but also for ourselves, understand where the threats are, where the opportunities are, where it could go wrong, right? And one of the first things we did with the survey is survey our entire team, and we found out a number of kind of key areas, which for me was around, there was a chunk of fear around AI.
Fear for our jobs.
Well, yeah, that's the first point, right? Is it's coming for our jobs. You hear that? I don't know if you hear that less now, or there's less
definitely.
worry. Yeah. I think as you use it, you get a little bit less scared. Sometimes you get scared, and then other times you're like, "Oh no, we're good."
Bit of perspective,
yeah, we'll be good for a while. So, is it worth me talking through a couple of the areas that we found? Or
yeah, absolutely. I think for a bit more context, I think one of the things that was great coming into the business is how I remember when we were starting this journey, you pitched it in terms of taking the shackles off and playing and experimenting in the real world with your day-to-day job, and how you use lots of bits of AI and see what sticks. And I think that was a really good environment it was almost encouraged play,
Yeah.
but within a work context, so that like you said about the shackles being off, it gave everybody that freedom to kind of see what impact AI could have. But as I say, like within the context of what you're doing on the day to day, and that was really good to see when we, like you say, in terms of the themes coming out of the research.
Yeah, there was definitely an element of permission, right?
Mm.
And uncertainty. What are you allowed to do? What systems are you allowed to play with? Am I cheating? They're all kind of things that you need to deal with early doors. But I think the big one for me that came back from the survey is the fear of feeling stupid.
Yeah.
Because the more you talk about AI or you hear people talk about AI, you're like, oh God, these guys know a lot about AI. I should know a lot about AI, but I don't. Where do I start? How do I get involved? And I think part of it is creating an environment where you all talk about it, and we
Yeah.
all, none of us, or not none of us, but in fact, actually, all of us on the planet don't really understand AI.
Right.
Even the guys that are, are at the bleeding edge are unsure why certain results come back like
Mm-hmm.
they are. They don't necessarily fully understand how it works. And I think that's a good one to understand. We're all on a journey. We're all trying to learn as much as possible. And actually, us hearing from a whole range of different people gets us a really good view of the world, right?
Yeah. No, definitely. And that was one of the things that having this kind of trial test bed environment within Cube, that was one of the nice things, is that when people came across stuff, that was a new bit of AI, or a new AI being applied to a new area, we were all sharing it in a channel. And it was a really good way of, because like you say, no one has the answers. You get a lot of people on LinkedIn promising that they were AI experts, but at that point, a year ago, I don't think anybody really knew what AI would evolve into. So having that open forum to share ideas, and this is really cool, and you should check this out, and I love how they're applying AI here because I hadn't really thought about it in that way, just gave us a bit of freedom to go, but I could use that bit in my day-to-day work and stuff. So yeah, that was really cool.
I think it's also really useful so I think for any organization, I think the fear is the big one.
Yeah.
The fear is the first one, and to have like an open conversation. And I think from leadership, it's important to be clear that you don't know, you're learning, you're trying to understand. Yeah. It's good that we've got a range of different opinions. And then, so fear was the first one. Permission was the second one. I'm trying to think some of the other elements that came out of the survey. Can you?
I think one of the biggest things was, and it's been echoed in the surveys we've done in the industry since, is a polarization. So we'd get a real sort of mix of usage of AI, and so you'd have people that were using it daily and were saying that they were saving up to like 2 days a week in terms of efficiency, which is incredible. And then you'd be like, people like, oh, I'm not really sure. I don't know. I don't trust it yet. And so yeah, there was a real kind of like polarization, which is why that kind of open sharing of experiences was really good, because everybody kind of meets in the middle then a little bit, where you've got that shared learning. And for us in marketing, it was, because you read a lot about on LinkedIn, and everybody's kind of using AI now, and it's the answer to everything. But actually, when we thought about it, and in terms of how we apply it to marketing, you'd never want AI to be writing your copy and things like that. But in terms of generating ideas, it was really good for that. And actually, funnily enough, when it came to analysing the survey results, one of the things that we found with Perplexity was that it's really good at crunching like data from a spreadsheet. So yeah, it kind of, in that environment where open experimentation is encouraged, yeah, you can kind of then just have a go with stuff and see what sticks.
And I think that's another important area, is that open experiment, and then also being it's not about us saying AI is great, right? It's about
you encourage that. You said like warts and all, like
Yeah.
let's share the things that aren't working, or
Yeah,
share
yeah.
the frustrations and things where it can't help you, because that's as important as all the good stuff.
Yeah, and like any tool, which is a tool, um, you only understand it by playing.
Yeah,
You only understand like what it's good at, what it's not good at, just by playing around, where the
it's like when you're a
risks
kid.
are. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Play, break it, try and do what you want to do. So yeah, I think it's been an interesting journey for us. Um, I wonder if we talk about any of our own usage.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I
yeah.
wonder if that's an interesting. I mean, in marketing, where do you use it?
Well, I mean, that, most recently, we're finding it coming baked into some of the tools that we're already using, which does make it easy. Things like HubSpot's got its own AI now, and Grammarly's like there. But I think if we're thinking, okay, I could use AI for this, it will be something like, I'm writing a blog story, but I haven't thought of a title for it. So I'll put the blog copy in and then get AI to suggest 3 different titles for it. Or I've got this copy that I've written. And as always, when you first write the draft of a blog story, it's way longer than you need it to be. So can you summarize this, but keep the tone of voice? And I think that was one of the things that came out when AI was sort of very new, was about how you know, query it, and how you write the prompts was very good. And I remember one of our team doing a presentation in our Friday happy half hour around writing better prompts and being really specific about, I work in marketing for a digital product agency, and we are talking to charities in the US market. And can you? So it was really good, or it was better. It was better then interpreting what you wanted to say in the right tone of voice, and so the outputs were much more usable. And that was, again, just experimenting. But one of the good things that I like about Gemini, Perplexity, and the other tools, ChatGPT, is that they keep your searches.
Yeah,
So one of the things I find quite useful to do is go back and look at prompts that perhaps didn't get the right answer, and so it's a thing of learning and refining what you do over time.
yeah, definitely. We talked about also using it slightly less than we were.
Yeah, I think that's something I've found, is that it was kind of like try everything and see what sticks. And I definitely find that I'm using it less now, but it's more target. I kind of know what I need it for.
Yeah,
Whereas before it was playing and experimenting.
yeah.
Now I'm thinking, okay, I could use AI for this, which is a definite shift, even in like 6-12 months. That's been a real shift in how I use it.
Yeah,
But what
definitely.
sort of things are you using AI
I
for?
Yeah, I use it, interestingly, I use it for legal and HR.
Huh.
So if you Google anything legal or HR based, all you get back is uh, people that have created copy to try and get you into. So you don't actually get answers on any like complicated legal or HR
Right.
questions. It's just really difficult. But as a kind of small business founder, you're constantly, that you need to understand, like you definitely need to understand HR and legal.
Yeah, sure.
um, but you might not want to pay for a lawyer on tap or a HR person on tap, because they charge a decent whack. So you want to try and learn and understand answers to questions quite quickly. So I find it incredible at that. Really, really good. I can ask it some quite complex, and when I say it, I'm usually using Chat
I
GPT.
was going to ask you that. Yeah.
Yeah, and but I can ask it some pretty complex questions, and I know caveats. It's you
Yeah,
got to take,
sure.
but I haven't really seen it miss
Huh.
in its responses. So
Is that
that's
the is
good.
that the pro chat GPT you've got?
Yeah, I have the Pro. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, I know there's you get access to the new features and stuff like that. I don't know if the Pro really gives us that much extra.
Just more up to date, I think, is one of the benefits
Yeah,
in terms of its reference material is more current.
yeah, that's great. And I've also used it, obviously in play in lots of different areas. I think, like you say, it's a good starter to
Yeah.
get you off the. I think you use the term blank page, right?
Yeah, right.
I think
And I
it's
think
great for
that's,
that.
yeah, and certainly Dominica, our designer in marketing, one of the things that she's used it for, like even when we're putting the report together from the survey findings, is generating images, not the images to be used, but again to generate ideas for then imagery that then she creates as bespoke illustrations or whatever. Have you used much image generation stuff?
I've just found it to be rubbish, being
Right.
honest. It just and I think that's probably again I'm a Luddite, right? I'm not a designer. I'm not in Figma or Photoshop or any of those kind of tools. So therefore, I'm probably giving it some pretty rubbish prompts, and it comes back with pretty rubbish um, content. So I think, and I'm using like a Chat GPT, a more generic program. So I think for design teams, I know they're using it, a decent amount. I think it's good if you know how to use the more intricate tools rather than this generic kind of like I need an image of this.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we found it really good for is the podcast, funnily enough, because summarizing the content that's in the video and providing you with the notes for YouTube and the chapters and the timings and stuff like that. Really good for that. And what we were doing when even as recently as 6 months ago was using a third party additional app to crunch the podcast footage. Now we're finding that, and this is something you touched on yesterday when we were chatting about it, is that the portal itself has got the AI baked in that's now sort of taken that app out of the picture. You don't need that anymore. You can all do it within Riverside, which is the bit of software that we're using. So it just makes it way more seamless. And it's that efficiency thing again, shortens the path to the end result.
Yeah, definitely. So the portal thing's probably a good thing to talk around. So
Yeah.
Owning the portal is an important area of AI.
Yeah.
So owning the gateway to your product. So ChatGPT obviously don't own any portals apart from ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
So you have to specifically currently go to ChatGPT, although they're obviously starting to get embedded in lots of other portals. Apple is a portal, right?
Yeah.
Google is a portal that you
Google with
go
Gemini
from.
and the search. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm probably finding I'm going a little bit less to ChatGPT because Google own the portal of search, and therefore, when they decide to give me a kind of chat, a response, it will take me from going into that other portal. But that's a key thing. Like developing a standalone AI piece is kind of a bit risky if you don't own the portal,
Yeah.
because you can easily be replaced by those that are running the portals, and they are spending serious money. And we talked about Grammarly,
Yeah.
right? I think Grammarly is, I might be wrong, dead in the water, because they don't own the portal. They're an addition.
It's a Chrome app.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All it takes is Google to and they built that product because spelling and grammar was a bit naff.
Yeah.
And they're amazing. Yeah, well, yeah, mine totally. Mine's so bad it can't even guess what the word is that I'm trying to talk around.
You stumped Grammarly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think owning the portal is really important, and that is when you're thinking about AI and AI products. Do you own the portal? And if you do own the portal, there's an opportunity to where there are threats from other things that will get built, and we will see over time products change. We are seeing a revolution, however long this takes, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, however long it takes, there is a revolution. There will be organizations that disappear that are no longer, that once were, the absolute darlings, and now won't be. So I think that's part of the reason of exploring it is risk, right? Risk mitigation.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And I think it's changing the game a little bit, particularly around the portal idea, what you were saying about in search. Now that you search in Google, the search engine results page, 2/3 of that is now Gemini. I like the fact that it kind of lists its sources, and I do find myself clicking on those rather than the first search result. But I read an article the other day, and they were talking about how the traditional funnel, the marketing funnel, has kind of been turned on its head, really, because you can rely much more now on ChatGPT or other large language model to give you a search result if you're looking for a digital product agency. So the onus on the marketing teams is now to provide the kind of trust building content, that sort of middle funnel content, that then when people click on those articles from search, then that's the bit you've got to sell and sort of put your products out on display and have that trust building at that point. So yeah, it is starting to feel like the game is changing, and your traditional approach to search engine results and marketing and SEO and things like that, it does need to shift if you want to sort of stay in the game.
Interesting. So talk us about the top part of the funnel that you're expecting to spend less focus on that top part.
I mean, cause the argument in the article is that the awareness bit, so the bit that you would normally spend on discoverability, so things like SEO on your website, and getting higher in the search results, you kind of have less influence on, because of the fact that the large language models are looking at everything on the internet and curating the results almost. So if you're going to have impact, you almost need to accept that you have less impact at the top of the funnel, and where you can really make a difference is sort of middle and bottom. So
wow,
yeah, because
that's a bit scary, isn't it?
It is scary, because I've been in the game long enough to have it changed over the past 25 years, but now it feels like another sort of seismic shift in terms of how that traditional marketing approach, needs to change and adapt with AI in mind.
Interesting. I always find, certainly from a marketing aspect, when new technologies come into play, there's real huge opportunities for using those technologies earlier than everyone else. I mean, the difference probably now is a large majority of people are looking at this and understand the threats that come.
Yeah.
But I certainly found when, the dawn of social media, you could get quite a bit of marketing for free using the social platforms.
Very much so. And one of the things that you could do that was even quite subtle was have a voice, like, as a marketing person that works for Three Sided Cube, what you said on Twitter, people were responding to and having conversations. And it wasn't, nobody was sort of pushing an agenda, but it felt more natural, and yeah, those days have changed.
Those days are dead, aren't they?
Yeah,
they are unfortunately dead.
Yeah. We were saying before we started recording about how that whole The Guardian announced yesterday that they're coming off X, and it's not somewhere where I particularly want my kids hanging out. Whereas
well, this is good. Just jumping onto the ethics side of stuff.
Yeah.
I think we're both probably of a similar age where when social media came through, I certainly was a massive advocate of it. And just connecting people and just opening up to more communities, and just, it was just a really nice, innocent time. And if you look back to your first few tweets, they were probably like just got out of bed, or just like silly, nice, like local community type comments, not the kind of the horrible kind of garbage fest that you get on now. And also I think the other thing is all of those platforms were about grabbing more and more users. Now it's not about grabbing more and more users. It's about sucking more and more of your time into those places.
Yeah. Attention.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how's your viewpoint on social changed over time?
I mean, it's interesting because, like you say, there was a time where you felt like you could say something on social or put a post on social and people would see it. Now it's like you almost closed walls, and you're kind of like it's that echo chamber. You're shouting to the same people, and if you really want to be noticed or seen, then unfortunately you've got to pay, and that brings out the worst in what the platforms, and it's a shame. So because your feed now is just adverts, and then political agendas and opinions, and that's a big change from what it was. It's not to say that social media doesn't work. It's harder, and you have to be. I think one of the things we've been talking about in the marketing team at Cube is about being more selective. There was a time where it was a space race, and you had to be everywhere, and you had to be posting on Facebook 3 times a day and LinkedIn 4 times a week, and every channel had its kind of accepted cadence. But now it's like, well, what do we want to say, and who do we want to say it to, and where would that be best placed? And it feels a bit more grown up and considered than it was, even 2-3 years ago, I'd say.
Yeah. So here's a question. Knowing what you know about, say, because social media, dawn of the internet, AI, they're all big. They're all big moments. Right? AI's been around for ages, the same as the internet had been around for ages, but it got to a point where it got a critical mass. AI is feeling like this is becoming a bit of a critical mass. So what we go in it with like open eyes, like, oh, this could be exciting. There are threats and stuff like that. I wonder knowing what you know now, I wonder what you would do differently on social media now. Would you do anything differently? Would you take a different approach, or is it just this is just the natural path of things, and therefore?
I think I would be less concerned about the numbers, and I think it was always the thing, like, you need more followers, you need more engagement, you need more this, you need more that, and I'm starting. Maybe it's just because I'm getting old, but I started to think that it's actually the quality of the conversations that you can have and the connections that you can make on social media that are the bit that pays off. Because if you're there having a genuine chat like we're having now, with no agenda, then that lands so much better than oh, have you seen my new stuff? Have you seen my new stuff? And it's just people just more so than ever, people filter that out, and if unless you pay stupid amounts of money, you're not going to cut through the noise. So better to have genuine conversations in less places with fewer people that care what you say than try and get everybody listening, I think.
Definitely. No, that's good.
We need to get into the survey results. But you mentioned about ethics and things that are holding back. And I think one of the things, if I was going to summarize this survey, so we've done 2 surveys now. So I should say we'd start the first survey into AI. We were looking at charities specifically in the disaster space at the time. This was back at the beginning of the year. And we were asking the AI adoption rates and how they were using it, because we really wanted to, we'd just come off the back of our own internal kind of research, as we were talking about, and wanted to get that handle on how the industry were, using AI and whether they were adopting a similar sort of learning approach to us. And that was very early days. The kind of adoption rates were low. It was about 11% adoption, and people were a bit hesitant. I think what this round of the survey, so we started in September, and we're just at the point where now we're putting the report together. That's going to be coming out this month, and it has shifted. I think cautious optimism is how I'd summarize it. The positive feeling is still there, and one of the things we noticed is that more people are starting to use AI than they were 6 months ago, but less people have got that full adoption. So it's almost like a bit like us. People were playing and experimenting and finding out how they could get that usage out of AI, and not just jump on a bandwagon, but actually help it, use it to help them. So that kind of is reflected in the findings.
Interesting. And do you think the full adoption is more to do with, as you climb the mountain, you realize how big the mountain is? So maybe they can just see a lot more.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of it. Yeah, I think because there has been, when AI was sort of 12 months ago, like a lot of people talk about ChatGPT, and that was kind of like AI then. As we were talking just now, like AI is in a lot of things, and so where do I use AI? Do I use it in ChatGPT? Do I use it within HubSpot? Where am I using it? So like you say, yeah, the size of the mountain is becoming clearer. The cloud is shifting, to carry on the analogy. But and I think it's that thing as well of people are maturing in their AI usage a bit and thinking, well, I don't need to try and use it everywhere. I just have found a niche for it here that really works for me, and I'm going to stick with that for now.
Nice. Okay, so let's talk about some of the key findings from the report. What did you discover?
Well, you mentioned ethics just now, and I think that's, and I guess with the target audience being non-profits and charities in the sort of humanitarian environmental sectors, ethics is a big thing, and risk is a big consideration when you're a charity and handling donations and investing on behalf of your communities and things like that. That's a responsibility. So I think that really comes across from the audience, and 2/3 of the audience, are being not held back, but they are considering how they adopt AI with those ethics in mind, and kind of waiting for trust signals. And that was another sort of key finding, if you like, is that there has been a hesitancy in the industry because nobody's really taken that. There's no kind of rails, there's no guidelines in terms of how you apply AI, so you kind of have to do it yourself. So it is a slow process. Where you've got Google and Microsoft and producing their own ethical AI guidelines, but I feel like the charity sector don't need someone a bit closer to home than the big tech giants sort of giving them that guidance. So there's definitely a role there that I feel hasn't quite been filled yet.
Yeah, absolutely fair. And certainly from talking to some of our clients, there's kind of two areas. The first area is using AI to directly talk to their end users, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And the second one is using it as a tool to just help them with efficiency.
Right. Yes.
Which is what a lot of us are using at the moment. And I think there's a few examples of the first one where it's direct, very small numbers. The majority are essentially they're happy and comfortable. The risk level becomes a lot lot lower if you're using it a tool to just enhance what you're doing, whatever that might be. But there's always that human oversight, which takes out the risk.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's reflected in the comments that came back from the survey. People saying things like our cautious approach to AI adoption means we're piloting a few different initiatives. So that are still kind of like playing and learning. And that one around AI breaks the tyranny of a blank page, which I feel like is a good summation of how you can use it. But like you say, in terms of it coming through in the digital products that these charities have for communicating with their audiences, there's more of a hesitancy there, and I totally understand that. I think one of the stats that came back is that less than 50% and 48% of charities, the people doing the good, have confidence that AI will be used for good. So there is still that skepticism there around how AI can be used for good, but also perhaps for not so good things. And there's a big thing we were talking about this week in the team around sort of privacy and things like that. And privacy laws have changed. And almost as a global business these days, you can't say, oh, we don't deal with the UK, so we don't do GDPR. And we don't, if you're a global business, which most businesses are these days, then you need to pay attention to privacy. And that's a kind of still needs some defining in terms of AI, where that privacy responsibility sits.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're using a chat model, then
I think that's big for a lot of businesses, right? One of the scare points is, again, back into the early days of mobile apps where you would give permission to all your contacts. And then I still get probably 2 phone calls a day because I let some product have access to my contacts, and there's no way around it. They're unscrupulous organizations. Unfortunately, that's the ones that kind of get it and use it.
Yeah. Well, this is so the podcast that Greg and James and Sam were talking about when Apple did their AI announcement. It's a really good episode. I encourage you to listen. But they were talking specifically about Apple's AI, baked in to replace Siri, and exactly that. Like, it's got access to all of your personal data because it's embedded in your phone or Apple device, whichever one you're using. And that was a real kind of eye opener for me. And I'm kind of in the Apple ecosystem, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that is extra permissions. And there's new permissions come out for iCloud this week and stuff. So yeah, that is an ever moving picture.
Absolutely. And I think organizations or businesses that are developing AI are very switched on to the concerns around data and how it's used and how it's protected.
They are. It's just how that then permeates down to, the charities that we're talking to and us and the smaller businesses of the world as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think also, just if you think about, again, NGOs, the bigger the NGO, the bigger the risk, right? The management of risk and innovation do not go well together.
Sure.
Like they don't. Like, I think, I know people have got lots of different opinions on Musk, etc. But take the personality out of the mix. If you look at, there's a good analogy of NASA versus SpaceX. Right. And their approach. So SpaceX approach is to build something, test it, let it blow up, right? That was definitely not NASA's approach, right? NASA's approach was build something and make sure it does not blow up under any circumstances.
Right.
Absolutely. Which basically means innovation is like very slow, progress is very slow, it's very expensive. The SpaceX route is the optimum route. But there is reputational damage that comes with that. And that's why you often see smaller NGOs with less risk profile taking more risk and then therefore more innovation. But I think where the bigger NGOs have a really interesting and exciting use of AI is really internally, in those processes, is in terms of building products and services for internal teams, whatever that might be, that allows you to play with not quite zero risk, but pretty much zero risk and get comfortable with this technology. I mean, it does. The two things I love is doing, technology. Technology equals innovation, and working in the for good sector. And the for good sector is generally quite risk adverse. And those two planes kind of like, it's tricky to get them to kind of fit together. So I think, I mean, I don't know your view on it, but I feel that it's a great safe space for them to play.
Yeah, and it was really interesting to see that in the numbers this time around, because last time it was harder for the people that we were asking to define their usage, whereas this time it was quite explicitly, well, I've seen efficiency gains, or I use it for data analysis, or I use it for communication or writing emails, or if the people were quite kind of, they made up their minds in terms of how they were using it, and that was really interesting to see. And there was a real spread. Like efficiency was the highest, but there was then with the rest, it was a real even playing field of communication, data analysis, productivity gains, and things like that. So it does feel like you were just saying, it does feel more operational at the moment rather than baked into products. And that's an opportunity for us as a product company, right?
Yeah, definitely. And would you say the fear factor has moved?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a flippant attitude from some of the respondents. Like 20% of people that answered the survey said that they weren't considering AI policies. They didn't think they were needed. So they're just plowing on and getting on with things, which is really good to see. And like you say, from a risk versus innovation, they're going down the innovation route and be damned, which is great. Some people saying, there's always that polarization, but other people saying that they're waiting for the guidelines to come out before they take that first step, and other people say they're just cracking on and doing their own thing. So yeah, it's really interesting to see, but I do feel like more of the industry is prepared to take that risk in order to see the benefit. And like you said just now, there is an element of, if you can crack that nut and define, how you're comfortable using AI and what I guess that's it. What it comes down to is what's the benefit. Like if it can benefit your communities and the people that you are seeking to help and make a difference and do AI for good, then if you can see that, then get on. Let's not stop helping people. Let's use it to the best way we can.
And I think that comes back to the risk reward thing, right?
Yeah.
You've got to be in an environment where you're more comfortable to take the risk. And I think the smaller NGOs will take those risks. They've got less to lose, and they are expected to kind of do that. I think for the bigger NGOs, the internal stuff is just, it's got such potential, and then from that you then can launch external services. I know of some smaller NGOs using it to answer questions out of hours.
They've had examples of that in the results. People saying that it saved us a person. We're doing support now, like you say, out of hours.
Wow.
They always prefer to use a human, but where it's out of hours, then you can rely more on AI to do that role.
Wow, that's huge. That's really huge. Anything else from the survey that's kind of dived out?
Yeah, to sort of like wrap up, one of the things that was interesting in terms of surprises. So always you have an idea of what's going to come out from the survey, and you test your own assumptions. But in terms of what surprised us from this round, it was still that element of communicating with or asking the communities that the charities were serving. That's not really happening still, and that was the picture 6 months ago, and that's still the picture. And I wonder if that creates an opportunity for some of the member organizations that work with the charities, the Net Hopes of the world, to be that sort of kind of trusted advisor in terms of AI and guidelines. And we are seeing more of that, and which is an opportunity. And as we were just chatting about the mix of where AI is being used, that was a bit of a surprise for us. But it's been a good learning piece, and I think one of the things that we're kind of minded to do now is to do this as a regular thing. So I think we'll do it as an annual pulse check of the industry and just see how it is evolving, how the picture's evolving, and whether we see, from what we were just chatting about, whether we see that shift more into AI in products that the charities are producing rather than, or as well as the internal benefits that this round of the survey's seen.
Yeah, definitely. I think we all know we are in a revolution. Like, I know these words get, bandied about all of the time, but this is definitely a point in history that will have significant change. The only question, like with all of this stuff, is just how long it takes. But that monitoring of every year of actually this space is going to be really interesting, because we'll get a better idea of where the needle's moving, and what are the opportunities, what are people, we're all going to learn more and more as we interact with these different services. I think it's just going to be fascinating.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd really encourage people to, if you are in the charity space and you wanted to share your experiences, anonymously, couldn't say that, then you come and have a chat with us, because don't wait for the next round of the survey. We're going to be obviously publishing this report very soon, and that will, no doubt be of interest. But come and have a chat with us. We'd love to know how, you've been using it and what your experiences are, and we're all learning, so it'd be great to have that shared experience.
Brilliant. All right, Matt, do you want to get into we got a quick fire question?
We got a quick fire quiz. I need to get my buzzers ready. Hold on. I was trying to be a game show host at the same time as being a podcast host is not that easy. So what we've got here, from extensive research of the internet, is some AI questions for you. So I'm going to ask the questions, and you see how you get on.
Okay.
So the first question is, what percentage of companies are now using AI in at least one of their business functions?
Ooh, wow. Percentage of companies, so all companies that exist.
Well, this is from McKinsey. This is a McKinsey report.
I would say surely no more than 10%.
Oh, hang on. That's a wrong answer. It's 50%, according to McKinsey.
No.
Yeah. So your forfeit, it's superhero themed, like the report.
Hang on. Yep, go on.
Is to adopt a superhero pose. So you can choose whichever superhero you would like.
Gosh.
I've got some examples, maybe Superman or Wonder Woman.
Superman's an easy one, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, nice.
Do I need to lift my legs up?
Yeah, well, we'll put it in green screen later.
Okay,
it'll be fine.
great.
Don't worry. Yeah, cool.
I've got the glasses as well. I need to take the glasses off for Superman.
Yeah.
Surely that's it. That's it. I'm Superman now.
Oh, yeah, there you are, Superman.
There you go.
So that transformation and back to Clark Kent. Yeah. Nice. Okay, cool.
I don't believe that. I know it's on the internet, so clearly it must be true. Maybe of the organizations they surveyed, that is true. But I don't believe it.
It's that self-referencing bias thing, perhaps.
Yeah. Because there's just so many different businesses, right, around the world.
Yeah.
That seems high to me.
I think they were trying to, evangelize for AI potentially.
Yeah.
So, cool. Right. Next question. What percentage of companies report using AI to automate routine tasks like customer services or inventory management, like we were just talking about?
Is that of the companies that use it, or just generally around the world? There you go. You're not sure.
I think it's got to be companies that are already using it because it's
higher than 50% then. I'd go 70.
Incorrect.
Oh, come on.
Oh, sorry. It's 35. It's a third. Yeah. So
it's a third.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all
that
right.
was from a tech.
What I would say is 70% of 50%. I think is a third or close enough.
Okay.
Does that count?
Kind of. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I'll let you off that one.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Okay. So next question is, this is interesting. So this is around creating skills and jobs and things like that in the industry. So what percentage has the demand for AI skills grown in the past 5 years? This is...
Wow. Has it grown? I mean...
I'll give you a clue. It's more than 100%.
Yeah, I was going to say, it must be like... it could be 3,000%. Like, I mean, these percentages. Surely have I got? What's the nearest?
Well, even with a margin of error, you're in trouble. But
okay, all right, 200%. It's got it, but surely over the last 5 years. Yeah.
Well, according to Stanford, and the research that they did.
Who are those guys?
Yeah, who is Stanford anyway, right? But they said 190%. So.
Okay, so it's okay. All right.
Yeah. Right. So who's the superhero going to be this time?
Superhero. Can I do
maybe Hulk?
Can I do Captain America?
Yeah, you can do Captain America.
Flying. This is the what's it called? What's the
Shield?
The Shield. There you go. Cocoa Pops sponsored Shield for Avengers, basically.
Other brands of cereal are available, folks.
Yeah, potentially.
Right. Last question. Here we go. So, what percentage of organisations in sectors like healthcare and environmental science, so very much in our sweet spot, are using AI for social good projects like predicting natural disasters?
I mean, I have no hope here, do I? 27%. I mean...
Incorrect.
Oh, come on.
Oh, you were close. It was 40%. And that's Stanford again, giving us the insights there. Yeah. So, I mean, that's good. I think that's high, 40%, nice. which is excellent. But you were wrong. So it's...
Can I do that?
Okay, Spider-Man. Yeah, straight there. Nice.
Brain was thinking there.
That was good.
I've got a whole outfit. I can go and get the outfit if you want. No?
We haven't got time, unfortunately. Right. We're going to have to wrap up there.
Got it.
But you did very well. Well, you didn't, but it led to some good impressions. So thank you.
Awesome. All right. So Matt, are we there?
We're there. Yes,
we're there.
Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for jumping on today. I think it is an interesting. Well, it's not just. Is it an interesting subject? It is a very interesting subject that is changing continuously. I think we all need to go like eyes wide open. Yeah. But I also think we've got to take the, I know loads of people hate Musk, but the SpaceX approach, right?
Yeah. Break it and learn from it.
Yeah, and you can do that. I think you can do that internally, and I'd really encourage for organisations to do it internally. If you're brave enough to do it externally, do it. If the risks matches up, do it. But that approach is definitely the right way to go here. Like, none of us really know, like in the rest of life, none of us know what we're doing. Let's stop pretending, and let's just like play with it and see what we learn and see how we can utilize it. But it'd be great to see the space using it more, I think.
Definitely. I'd just say, for personal, thank you for creating a culture at Cube where that is encouraged.
That we don't know what we're doing.
No, sorry, no. Like
the other one.
The playing with it,
you.
Breaking it, seeing what works, and not that we don't know what we're doing. No, very much the culture of learning and playing and stuff, because it's not just in marketing, but I've seen it across different departments. And again, one of the things come out of the survey is people use things differently in different departments.
Exactly.
I mean, shocker, but that has taken a little while to find that out and just for things to stick, but it is good to be seeing that now. So it's cool.
Well, I mean, it just comes from just pure selfishness, from just wanting to get to the right answer, just wanting to learn quicker. That environment gives you that, right? You can't have an opinion on something you've not used and tried or played
100%.
You can once you have. So,
Nice.
Good
place to finish.
All right, nice. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you joining us.
Thanks.
How do we end these things?
Sayonara.
Okay,
Adios.
All right.
Cool.
We'll go with that.
All right. Cheers.